Both the Steam Deck and the ROG Ally have been out for quite a while now, and I haven't really compared the two of them directly, and in my time with both these devices, my opinion has changed multiple times while making this video, to the point that I had to rewrite the script to this video multiple times. The Steam Deck was the beginning of a massive explosion of PC handhelds, really penetrating the general consumer rather than the die-hard gamer. With that comes the burden of being first to market though. That could have been a very good thing or a very bad thing, but for the Steam Deck it was a massive boon. It basically came out a whole year before any other serious competitors came along, allowing for the Steam Deck to gain mass adoption of this handheld. The Steam Deck's biggest selling point is its price, being now as low as $350 for the old base model while supplies last. At time of recording, it is still available. I have the original base model, and I personally upgraded my storage separately to save some money. You can buy the new OLED model for $550 or over $600 for the unit that comes with the anti-glare screen, 1TB of storage, and so it's really up to you whether or not you want to spend the extra money for that. During the creation of the Steam Deck, Valve partnered with AMD to make a custom APU to be optimized for low wattage gameplay, so you could enjoy long play sessions on battery, which can vary depending on the game you could play. The Steam Deck does offer decent performance in most titles you could ever realistically want to play, the caveat being that it's compatible with SteamOS. If you're mostly an esports player, you might not be able to play the games on the Steam Deck that you might want. The reason SteamOS is such a big roadblock for esports titles is because Linux is broadly considered cheating or a vector for cheating for most anti-cheat software, so things like BattlEye, Ricochet, Easy Anti-Cheat will flag your device as a potential, vector for hacking and ban you or just kick you out. All manner of ways that these developers really deal with hackers. The upside being on Linux has allowed Valve to optimize SteamOS for gameplay, so for the games that do support SteamOS, they do offer at least stable or increased performance over using Windows. I personally use Windows because I have a lot of esports games I like to play, but the Steam Deck in SteamOS is a much easier experience and very console-like experience that a lot of people would really enjoy, especially when you start thinking about how much this device costs. At minimum $350. It is a killer value. Being the same price as a Nintendo Switch OLED, it's kind of hard to decide between the two. I'll probably make a separate video about that at some point, but at the price point of $350, it's just an incredible value. Some other things about the Steam Deck is that the ergonomics are some of the best I've ever seen. Having these giant meaty handles on the side for really getting a nice grip on the device. Having the touch pads on the device that really allows navigating Linux desktop mode or any games that support the touch pads just feels so much better to use over using a joystick to mouse sort of application. It just allows for a massive quality life improvement for people who want to really dig into SteamOS. The ROG Ally originally came out a little over a year after the Steam Deck came out. Most people considered it at the time the best competitor to the Steam Deck, especially because it was one of the cheapest ones we've seen so far, at $600 for the Z1 Non-Extreme and for $700 for the Z1 Extreme at launch, but now they can be had as low as $600 for the Z1 Extreme and $500 respectively for the Z1 Non-Extreme variant. Prices can go even lower if you're comfortable with going to open box. On open box, I've seen them go as low as $450 for a Z1 equipped Ally, which is a killer deal, sort of placing it right in between the models of OLED with the anti-glare and the standard OLED screens. Basically, it sits right in between those two devices, and I think it offers a tremendous value considering the amount of performance you get with the Z1 Extreme being at sometimes 50% more powerful than the standard Steam Deck. You might be wondering, what about the Z1 Non-Extreme? Well, the Z1 Non-Extreme for some reason decided to be just the worst option on the planet, being sometimes the same or worse than the normal Steam Deck, and just overall not necessarily being the greatest value. So Out of all these devices that I'm going to be talking about today, just don't get the Z1 Non-Extreme unless it's like a really good deal, cheaper than a Steam Deck. The Z1 Extreme is another collaboration with AMD, but it just basically is a rebadged AMD Ryzen 7 7840U. But regardless of the name, that does come with a massive increase in performance thanks to ROG and others waiting basically over a year to really make something to compete with the Steam Deck. The Ally runs Windows, which some might really dislike. I personally really do like, but the downside of it using Windows, it just feels a little less optimized of an experience. You know, the only way to really feel comfortable using a controller is with touchpads like the Steam Deck has, but the Ally doesn't have anything like that, which is kind of disappointing, especially because it runs Windows, a less controller-friendly operating system, which on the whole makes it a lot harder to navigate strictly through the touchscreen. The ergonomics of the device too aren't really my favorite. I feel like the Steam Deck is much more comfortable to hold for long-term play sessions, but the actual physical controls on the Ally are my preferred layout. Having all the controls at the top can sometimes wear my thumbs out for long-term play sessions, but just casually holding the device, the Steam Deck is more ergonomic in my opinion, but for actual button layout, the Ally to me is what I would prefer. Something to consider is the potential of just waiting a little bit longer for an ROG Ally 2. We already have basically all but confirmed its existence, because in a recent article posted by Dexterdo, ASUS's main, director guy in India basically said we'll likely launch the second generation of handheld gaming console this year. It will be keeping the Windows features but focus more on gaming. So basically, it's just going to be a matter of time before we see the next Ally. My guess we'll probably see some announcement in the next couple months, maybe sometime in June, July sort of time frame, and see it released sometime in November, October, September sort of time frame. Or we can see it release as soon as June if the previous Ally's release window is anything to go by. But realistically, take this all with a grain of salt. I don't know anything more than just my speculations on the industry trends. The Steam Deck and the Ally are two very interesting and compelling handhelds, both nowadays offering just a tremendous value for gaming, especially for the money. And for people who are on the go or want to be able to take their gaming with them wherever they go, the Ally kind of makes an incredible argument for why you should pick it, especially if you can get one open boxed or used for around $450. That is just a killer deal for how much more performance you're gonna get over the Steam Deck. Granted, the Steam Deck is also still very good, but it comes with some caveats that a lot of gamers might not want to really have to deal with, like the fact that Linux doesn't support every single game title. A stronghold that the Steam Deck had for a long time was emulation with EmuDeck, but now with EmuDeck releasing on Windows and even having native support for the ROG Ally, it sort of calls into the question, should you buy the Steam Deck over the Ally at this point, or should you just wait for the next Ally to come out and just buy a Steam Deck in the meantime? You can sort of see my problem that I was having, my opinion just flipping back and forth, because they both are so now close in price depending on who and where you buy it from, that it makes it a really tough call, and it's almost up to personal taste whether or not you want the more console-like experience in SteamOS that the Steam Deck can offer, or have the more tinkery in more having to get your hands dirty to optimize games like you would have to do for the Ally. But if you do want to go down the Ally route, you'll be going in for, having to deal with all those shenanigans that comes with dealing with Windows, which I personally know how to fucking deal with, because I have to deal with it all the time on my personal Steam Deck because I installed Windows on it. The Steam Deck does offer unparalleled ease of use with SteamOS, but it just comes for me with too many problems that I simply don't want to deal with. At least the problems I have on Windows are problems I've had before with other handhelds, or just normal Windows issues that I've dealt with on my actual full-size computer. And considering the amount of extra performance you can get if you can buy a Z1 Extreme at $450, the price to performance ratio is insane. Even if when there's an Ally 2 that comes out, the original Ally will still be hyper competitive and only probably get cheaper. I've seen the Ally go on sale frequently these last few months, basically see a sale going on the device every couple of weeks, versus I only see the Steam Deck go on sale once every so often with Valve's annual sort of seasonal sales that they have on Steam. It was a tough call, but my overall recommendation is going to be the ROG Ally. The price performance is hard to beat, and the overall quality of the experience is amazing. I even really talk about the displays being 120 Hz on the Ally and only 90 Hz if you get the OLED, but even still, the 120 Hz would be my personal choice because that fluid display just makes gaming feel so much smoother. I would love to hear what you guys think down below. Are you interested in getting a Steam Deck or Ally this late in the game? Did this video help convince you in picking one of these devices? I'd love to hear what you guys think down below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. All the other social media garbage down below. And last but not least, have a wonderful day.